Hi and welcome. Today I have something a little different. It is a envelope journal and I made it um, quite a while ago, and I use it to get excess ink off my stencils. So the pages inside are all old book pages, and I've gessoed it. You can see that that's just a white envelope. And so when I have excess ink on my stencil, I just pick a page and put the ink down. Sometimes it turns out great. Sometimes it's like, I'm not so sure about that. And there's even been a couple times where I have gone through and just like, okay, need to just kind of wipe that, like this one right there, the green one. I've kind of wiped it. Maybe I'll put something else on top of it. But this is the one I'm going to use today. I love the neutrals in it, and I think it will fit kind of what I'm going for today. So I'm just going to clip back the pages to kind of help it to lay flat, and I'm going to do a little stamping, a little collaging, or actually a bit of collaging, and we'll just see where we go. One of the images I'm thinking about putting on here has some green in it, so I thought I would stamp the stamp down that I just picked up at Hobby Lobby, I think, and to bring out a little more green. And turns out at the end you can't even see this. I think I kind of wipe it down a little bit as well. And then I added some wilted violet, which I thought was way too bright, and I immediately took that off. And there is a little bit of the base colors, I think, are frayed burlap and seedless preserves. So I thought, oh, I can add some seedless preserves, but that was awfully bright as well. And so I do kind of mute that down a little bit. So I just added a little bit of ink before I started to collage. And this is a ticket stamp from the Stampers Anonymous ticket booth. And I'm just putting some peeled paint on it. And it ended up a little more yellow than what I had thought. And I keep trying to make it work, but and I do actually glue it on, but by the end of this you only see a couple little spots of it. But that's kind of all the process for me. I just kind of start somewhere, and what goes down first might not even show up at the very end. And this piece here is just a scrap from a piece of scrapbook paper. It had a bunch of like travel tickets on it, and I like the color of it. And it goes with my two girls there that I'm going to use. And they're from collage strips, the large collage strips of Tim Holtz. And I'm going to be putting on some collage medium on them. They're not shiny, but I plan to add a little bit of color from with distress crayons, and so collage medium kind of helps that go on smoothly. And the handle with care is a piece, think it's from the Urban pack of Tim Holtz Urban Layers. It is shiny, and so I kind of scuff it up with, I keep a little nail, a square nail file around. It's got different levels of sanding on it, and then I added some vintage photo just to kind of make it look a little more distressed. So I round the edges of them, and it's got the collage medium on, and I think now I'm gonna be using some distress crayon. And I think that one, let me grab mine, because I think the color I'm using there, yeah, is Victorian velvet. That's what I thought. But I'm just adding a little bit of color to the dresses and the bows, and I think I put some worn lipstick on their cheeks. And I just kind of scribble some on and then just wipe it around with my fingers. If it goes somewhere I don't want it, I'll just take a baby wipe and wipe it off. You can see I had I had sprayed a little bit of water on my mat, and so sometimes I'll use that to kind of just dab, just to kind of loosen it up a little bit. And more Victorian velvet on their bows, and again, not a whole lot. Don't want it to be a lot of color, just a little bit of color. So I'm ready to glue those two things down. And that's just some vintage photo going around the edges, just to make it look a little more aged and distressed. And the handled with care. I move over to the left side. I will be back to the right side, but I'm going to do a little bit over on the left side, and that's what I'm fussy cutting out. And this is, I believe, from the, oh, what was it? I think it's, I have it listed, but I think it's some sort of botanicals. It's Tim Holtz. But it did have a little white around the edges, so I cut it out. And that was the piece that had green in it, that I thought I'd bring out more green, but you'll see I don't really like the green I added. And you also can tell that I've kind of muted the purple that I had stamped. Just kind of wiped it a little bit, so it left some color, but it took away the stamp. And this is a piece of collage strip, like the girls were out of. And I just take a scissor and kind of rough the edges up. And then add some vintage photo, and then some vintage photo splatters. And that's going to go underneath the flowers. I keep trying to fix this green to make it kind of soften up. And then so I'm adding some frayed burlap over top. And that did help a lot, actually. But again, I do something at the very end. And I think that's all part of it. You know, you think you might like what you're doing and got a plan. And I never really have a 100% plan. I have an idea of what's going to happen. I may pick out a few things, like I had the girls picked out, and those two, the flowers, and some other pieces, but I don't know for sure exactly where they're going to go and how it's going to work out. So this is some just ephemera. The two pieces below are just some ephemera I'm adding, and they're probably either from the field notes or maybe the Curator. Probably one of those two. The butterfly is just, I had it on something that I purchased and I fussy cut it out. And so now I'm taking my stamp that I was stamping those words. Actually, no, this is a different stamp. And adding it in vintage photo, which I think was a much better idea. That I think is the stamp from, I almost want to say the Cadavers stamp set from Stampers Anonymous. That one's probably from Eccentric with the number. Either that or Field Notes. They both have numbers like that. I'll have all the information in the description. And so I decide I'm going to cover up that green. And here is just a piece of, I have a whole mixed set of vintage washi tape. And so I'm just adding that. And that I just got off Amazon. So it helped cover up the green. And then I'm adding some, I have some aged tape that I colored with some inks. So I'm adding that in a couple places. Those are alcohol inks. And I'm finding a sticker from the Small Talk sticker book, and it says, "We are fearless, independent, and original." And even though it's sticky, I normally will put some glue on it just to make sure it's gonna stick down to the surface I put it on. And this little edge here wasn't sticking well, so I helped that along with a little more glue. It's a little spattering with some vintage photo. I just covered up my girls so that they didn't get any spatter on them. Okay, I'm going to add some stamps, and that's where I want them, so I just put it on my acrylic block. And because it was on a little curve, it didn't stamp well, and I tried to stamp it again, but with didn't have anything to line it up again, so I kind of offset it a little bit, which sometimes I don't mind, but sometimes I'm like, no, I don't like it, I'm gonna cover it up. And I didn't really like the green going on behind it either, so I do end up covering that up. And I'm gonna just write a number on this, so I have a little bit of my own handwriting in it. And this is the Tim Holtz document, the ideology document collage paper. And so I'm just taking a little piece of it, and I'm going to use it to cover up that stamp and the green stamp. And then, so I put some collage medium down first, and then the tissue paper, the collage tissue paper goes down. And then that collage medium goes on top as well, just to seal it in real good. And you can still see it a little bit through here, but once it dries, I mean, you have to look really close. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this collage session. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And give me a thumbs up. And y'all have a great day.